what happens if we ask ChatGPT to write a script for YouTube video about narcissism? How good or how bad can it be? So I think that we could actually do a small experiment. So I've been playing around with it, and here we are now in ChatGPT. So how about we just ask a very basic question? You know, a lot of the videos are about 5 signs of this or 3 things you should know. There's psychological reasons for that. So let's try just pasting, write a script for a YouTube video about 5 signs you're dealing with a narcissist. Let's see what this gives us, and I'll comment the responses. I might be illustrating some of them if there's anything interesting. Let's just see what happens. So, ready? Here we go. Something went wrong. Oh dear. Let me try again. Regenerate response. Okay, this is a bit of a flop. However, I do have a backup plan, which is quite amazing, which is that I tried it before. So let's see what happens, what happened before. So here we go with a script that it generated last time. Hi everyone, thank you for joining. So opening shot of the host sitting in front of the camera smiling. There we go. Host. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to talk about a topic that affects many of us, narcissism. Narcissists can be difficult to deal with, and it's important to recognize the signs if you want to protect yourself. So in this video, we're going to look at 5 signs that you're dealing with a narcissist. Before we go any further, this is typical introduction. You know, here we go. Let's see, the welcome back to the channel. Going to be talking about stuff that affects many of us. This is type of stuff we hear. It's not very precise. You know, it affects many of us. Narcissism. It sounds like artificial intelligence. The better ways to word it. A narcissist can be difficult to deal with. Yes, that's that's sort of obvious. There could be dry humor. Maybe it's dry humor. Let's assume it's dry humor. And it is important to recognize the signs if we want to protect ourselves. So we're going to look at 5 signs we're dealing with a narcissist. You know, incidentally, if you followed me before, that I don't believe in saying it's a sign of a narcissist. It's more like these are toxic behaviors, and anyone who's got enough clusters of toxic behaviors is a pain in the backside to deal with, whether we label them a narcissist or not. But this is shorthand, so we're going to say that we consider it to be roughly the same thing. So cut to the first sign. The first sign is that they have a grandiose sense of self-importance. Narcissists often believe that they're superior to others, and they'll make sure that you know it. They may talk about their achievements and talents excessively, and they may try to belittle you to make you feel inferior. Let's see if I can I zoom? There we go. That's going to be a bit nicer for you guys. Here we go. So, quick comment on this part. The grandiose sense of self-importance. Yes, this is part of the sort of part. We'll see if there's anything else coming afterwards. Sort of part of the entitlement. It's all about them. It's all about them. They've got very little space for anyone else. They do believe they're superior. They're entitled. Part of that taps into, I think, the second point, the lack of empathy. And yes, that's one of the reasons why. And this actually taps into the video we did yesterday. All of the part of the contempt. In a healthier relationship, we'd be viewing 2 people being, just one second, make this a bit easier. There we go. So 2 people would be equals, different. And so we roughly look for ways we can get along. The way narcissists view things is that people are below them, they are above them, and they are judge. They get to decide, they get to choose. For narcissists, it's never a relationship of equals, which of course taps into the grandiose sense of self-importance. Let's go further and see what else it comes up with. Okay, cool. The second sign is that they lack empathy. Narcissists have a hard time understanding or caring about other people's feelings. They may be insensitive, dismissive, or even cruel. They may also manipulate others to get what they want without any regard for how it affects them. This, well, as we know, is pretty accurate. I like to illustrate this part of the lack of empathy. I think that it's some of these things actually seem so generic that we might forget to talk about them, and it's important to remember them. So the lack of empathy, let's just illustrate it this way. In a relationship, there's you, there is the narcissist, the toxic person. All of these dynamics where you act a certain way, they react a certain way, and the way that they react causes some emotions. The emotions then have some kind of influence on the way you act. The way it works is, if they don't like the emotion that you're feeling, instead of taking responsibility and thinking, I'm sorry that I caused some pain or something, they just dismiss it. They're going, the emotion you have is a problem. It's up two possibilities. Either the emotion you have is a problem, therefore you are a problem, and therefore I get to attack you, or, and this happens sometimes, it's a bit strange, the emotion you have will cause a different kind of response, which is exactly the response they want. The pain that other people are feeling, this is in any situation we have advantages and we have disadvantages. The pain that people are feeling, they're okay with that. They're okay with you feeling pain because you're the one feeling pain. The more pain you feel, either it gives them more advantages and they're okay with it, or you're trying to turn your problem, do that in red, you're trying to turn your problem into a problem for them, and then they just get upset. The problem for them isn't that you're feeling something. The problem is that you're inconveniencing them, or otherwise it's done on purpose. So that's it's interesting, I think, to see things from that point of view. That's one part of it. Then they may be insensitive, dismissive, or even cruel. We can question, is it cruel? If they don't care at all, is that cruelty? Well, maybe the cruel, well, the two aspects. One aspect would be, you feel pain, I don't care. The other one is, you feel pain, and I like watching you feel pain. I get satisfaction out of it. Or I watch you feel pain and do nothing about it. Or I watch you feel pain and I'll invent some random reason, and you're going to continue feeling the pain, so I feel the power over you, which taps into the first part, which is the grandiose sense of self-importance. And here we go. Okay. Oh, thank you, Leo, about the thing about the page being refreshed. Okay, let's move on to the third sign. So cut to the third sign. So far, I have to say, oh yeah, here something else here, very important, which is the next one. They also manipulate others to get what they want. This is the point. It might be a bit difficult to read. Here we go. This is the point where they manipulate others to get what they want. If they want you to react this yellow way instead of the green one, that might be explaining why they're acting in this unpleasant way. If they know that, I know there's a lot of drawings here, that this red action will push you to do this yellow one, is calibrated that way. Bringing up in an uncomfortable topic just before you're going to go and have dinner with your parents is going to ruin the dinner with your parents. So people think, well, why would they do that when they know it's going to ruin the dinner with the parents? Well, the answer is because they want to ruin the dinner with the parents. It's quite simple. Or they want to inconvenience you, or they want to watch you wriggle and squirm and destroy your happy moments. They want to spoil it. Why would someone with a drinking problem go to a party and drink too much when they know that it's going to be a problem? Because they want it to be a problem. It's quite simple. It's not very complicated. So yeah, so far I have to say, it's better than a few videos I've seen on YouTube. Already a bit more helpful, not quite precise enough. So I think it's interesting to take this with a bit of a grain of salt and go, interesting point, and I can add something a bit more human. Let's cut, if you're ready, let's cut to the third sign. Here we go. So, the third sign is that they constantly seek admiration and attention. Narcissists crave attention and approval, and they'll go to great lengths to get it. They may fish for compliments, exaggerate their achievements, or even lie to make themselves look better. They may also try to monopolize conversations or interrupt others to get the spotlight. This sounds pretty familiar, pretty accurate. Using the picture that we had before, the thing about attention. Oops, 1 second. I got loads of screens going at the same time. So this is you, the normal person. This is them. One of the things they want that feeds them is the attention. So they will do whatever it takes to get your attention. Triangulation is one of these tools they use. They will pay attention to another person, just a random person, because if you notice that they're paying attention, you might start getting jealous. Being jealous is giving them attention. Being indifferent is not giving them attention. They don't like that. Upsetting you means you give them attention. Belittling you means you give them attention. Playing judge means you give them attention. And they feed off the attention. Really view it as being like a vampire who feeds off energy. And they feed off energy, and they feed off attention. That's pretty important. One of the reasons for this, incidentally, I'm thinking about what I discussed in the live stream last night, which is a number of narcissists, if you really were to dig, would pretty much say that they are one, they'd probably say there's something like 1 in a million. They're very special. Now, given that we've got 8 billion people, 1 in a million means that they are in the top 8,000 people. If we divide between men and women, they're pretty much in the top 4,000 people. If you remove the different age brackets, we'd probably say that they'd be in the top 1,000 people. Now, if you believe that you're in the top 1,000 people alive, obviously you get a lot of attention. Because if people think you're just a random person, then you're clearly not in the top 1,000 people alive. So it's completely coherent to be craving attention all the time, because otherwise your mask dissipates. If you're that exceptional, everyone should know it. Everyone should be wanting your attention. The fact is, not everyone does, because most people don't care. There's no such thing as the top 1,000 people. The whole notion is ridiculous. However, if they want to live in the illusion, they can sort of maintain the illusion by having a small circle of people who sort of worship them. I believe Rich Grannon wrote a book, something like The Cult of One, likening mindlessness. I don't read the book, but I know most of the stuff he does is pretty helpful. Likening it to a cult, but just with one person, one member in the cult. And that's pretty similar. The way cults work, by the way, is very similar to the way that narcissists operate. Be it spiritual cults, political cults, narcissism, it's roughly the same mechanisms, which is why if you see these mechanisms run, regardless of the cause they pretend to defend, if it operates like a cult, probably is a cult. So this is one of the other things is, if the goal is attention, their focus is really on extracting things from you. Whatever's happening inside your head or inside your heart is simply viewed as being a means to extract more resources. And if you don't have resources, then you're disposable, and it's usually where the discard happens. It's one of the reasons why the relationships with them are never sustainable, because quite simply, it's not possible to have a proper long-term healthy relationship with people this way. And, there we go. Yeah, it's not possible to have a healthy long-term relationship this way. Therefore, it's going to be sabotage at one point or another. Therefore, if it ends, it's just a better thing because you're out of it. I see the question. You've got the DSM-5 open. It's interesting how it functions because the AI is getting bits and pieces of information. It's interesting to see that. So far, I haven't seen anything stupid, which is good, really good. People are going to use it, so it's a good idea that it's helpful. Yeah, so far I think it's interesting, and I think even though these are very short paragraphs, there's enough content there to well, clearly, as you're seeing, to be able to talk a bit more and get something of substance that hopefully people are finding helpful. Now, I did another experiment before, so we'll take another five signs afterwards. Same question, same prompt, and different answer. Let's see here. Number 4, the fourth sign. The fourth sign is that they have a sense of entitlement. Narcissists often believe that they're entitled to special treatment, privileges, or recognition simply because of who they are. They may demand preferential treatment, act entitled or demanding, or refuse to follow the same rules as everyone else. Now, this is perfectly logical because of the grandiose sense of self-importance. If you're more important than others and you're on a pedestal and you're better, of course you should be treated differently. And if you're not, then of course it's a problem. And the people who don't see your brilliance, of course you want revenge. Of course you want to knock them down. Of course you get the idea. And yeah, we do see it, the special treatment or being upset as being treated like others. Pretty much all of the ones I knew were upset when they were traveling in a plane in economy class. Even people who were pretty short, so they had a lot of leg space, they'd be complaining. And they'd be I never understood why, but they'd be complaining, and the complaint usually was, why aren't you paying for a business upgrade for me? Why are you making me not travel in business? Go, well, you can pay for it yourself if you want, but I don't need that. I'd rather spend my money on something else. So yeah, that's pretty accurate. And let's see the next one. Fifth sign. The fifth sign is that they're highly sensitive to criticism. Narcissists can't handle any criticism or negative feedback, even if it's constructive. They may become defensive, angry, or even hostile if they feel like their ego is being threatened. Interesting. They may also try to shift the blame or make excuses to avoid taking responsibility. This is pretty interesting because it touches on, there's an interesting angle here. Yes, they're highly sensitive to criticism because, yes, in their bizarre little world, everything they do is absolute genius and nothing they do can be wrong. Oops, here, let me shift this. There we go. Everything they do is genius, nothing they do can be wrong, which means that anything that goes wrong must be because of some other person. Because everything they do is completely skewed. Everything they do is right. Everything that goes wrong is somebody else's fault. Anything that happens well for them is thanks to the genius. Anything else is just bad luck, or because the world is horrible, or they're victims, or society is oppressive, or some random thing. And for other people, anything that works out well is not because of a combination of luck and a combination of where they were born, and also hard work, and also merit. No, it's purely, completely lopsided. It's either, in their case, good things are owed to them. Bad things are because society is terrible and it's bad luck. For other people, good things are ill-deserved, and they don't deserve it, and bad things serve them right. So completely skewed. And this is one of the reasons why, when you point out, it's possible that maybe there's more than nothing that you've done that's wrong. They can't process that. I actually remember one person who, what was it? There was she pushed me, so just exhausted me, and at one point I lost my temper, and I just said, it's not all about you. And she collapsed. She was furious. And I did not understand how it's not all about you. If we have the two people and we just look at how much is it about each person, and we just look at percentages, you know, you've got one extreme here, the other extreme there. I was basically saying it's not 100% about you. She understood. So I asked her at one point, what did you understand? And she said, you just said it is not at all about me. You just said it is 0% about me. Therefore, it's 100% about you. Which obviously, it was so strange talking to a woman in her 30s and having to explain, no, I'm saying when it's about you, it's less than 100%. Obviously, it's more than 0. I don't know if it's 50, 51, 99, 87, 12, I don't know. But it's not 100% about you. There's also a little bit of space for me. And she was furious. And she had to admit that I was obviously right. This one thing drives them nuts, by the way. Logic. Can't argue with logic. I mean, you can argue around it, but then logic wins. She was furious. And I was there thinking, you're furious. I mean, you should apologize to me. I'm not asking for it because, well, I'm complicated, but what I said was logical. What I said was completely fair and balanced. I'm willing to say 80% about you. I don't care. But not 100% and 0%. But of course, when you understand personality disorders, you can go, okay, yeah, even if it's constructive, they won't view it this way. And that's one of the reasons why it's a disorder. You can't collaborate with someone who refuses criticism. There will always be situations where things are not perfect. So what do you do about them? You can deny them. That's one option. You can do something to make them better. That might be another option. But you have to recognize that something is wrong. But these people will be denying anything is wrong, trying to push the symptoms onto others, and it's pathological. It's one of the reasons why there's not really much hope in these situations. So, let's see now. How's the live stream going, by the way? Is this... Let me update something. I realized, I think that something is not working well here. Let me see. I might have lost everyone. If I haven't lost everyone, then I will go into... Then I go into another 5 of them. Let's see what's going on here. No? Okay. Everything's fine? Okay, good. There we go. There we go. So let me pull up another 5. By the way, if you have any questions, do let me know, of course. Oh, okay. Thank you, UNA. Thank you. Like, oh my goodness. I think everything's crashed and I've just been talking alone for a while. Okay, that's reassuring. So let me pull this here and find out. Whoopsie. So just bear with me. Do let me know if you have any questions, of course, or any questions, any comments. I think so far this experiment is rather fun. I used it, by the way, to... Let's see what this is. Okay, checking I'm human. Here, I'll just move this out of the way. I used it, by the way, to produce some tweets. That was pretty interesting. Using tweets in my style. And that was quite interesting to see how it was producing something that was pretty accurate. Okay. This is another pretty good one. Let's see. Here we are. Okay, there we go. Okay, next one. Yeah, he's like, I was playing around here, like titles for YouTube videos. I haven't done any of these, but it's rather funny to see just how realistic it is. Like, I think you watch this, go, oh yeah, I've probably seen loads of these before. It's really interesting. I think there's part of it that's it's just really quite funny. Okay, let's see the other 5 signs that you love narcissists. So once again, opening shot of the presenter. Welcome back to the channel and so on. Oh yeah, and the other one I think had some please like, subscribe, share, comment, and the same usual thing. So, cut short a presenter in front of a whiteboard. Well, nearly. Showing the 5 signs. Sign number 1, lack of empathy. Narcissists lack empathy and are often unable to see things from the other people's perspectives. They tend to be self-absorbed and may disregard or dismiss your feelings or your needs. This one is akin to... Where did we have it? We had it... Yeah, it was this picture here. This is akin... Oops, there we go. This is akin to whatever you're feeling on this side is either calibrated to produce an outcome or it is an inconvenience. Like if I punch you on the nose and you don't like it, why don't you like it? Why are you turning this into a problem? I've seen this time and time again. I act a horrible way, you don't like it, you let me know, therefore you're a problem. I took your money. Why is that a problem for you? Why can't you just let me take your money? I don't like it. Why are you making a problem? If only you didn't do this, you wouldn't be making it a problem. The manipulation part, I've got before, by the way. Manipulation part is trying to force the reaction or the attention. Let's see. There might be more manipulation here. Otherwise, you can remind me. So, sign number 2, grandiose sense of self-importance. Interesting. So this is similar to the one before. They exaggerate their accomplishments, talents, and skills. They believe they're unique, special, entitled, special treatment. Yeah, that's pretty similar. Pretty similar. You know, it's one thing to inflate a little bit what we do, which is hyperbole, can help us feel good. But then the question is the percentage. Is it like 10% exaggerated, or is it 100% exaggerated? It's not quite the same thing. Polishing things a little bit, 10%, can be forgiven if we realize it. The problem is when people massively exaggerate, then they lose track of reality. They get upset when people are reminded of reality. Sign number 3, need for admiration. Narcissists crave attention and admiration, will often go to great lengths to get it. They may fish for compliments, seek out the spotlight, demand special treatment. So pretty similar. Sign number 4, manipulating others for personal gain. Narcissists may manipulate others to get what they want. They may use emotional blackmail, guilt tripping, and other tactics to get their way. Sounds quite accurate. Again here, so that the point about the manipulation is, if you have 2 people who have a regular, healthy relationship, the 2 people can act whichever way they please, and we accept that the other person has the freedom to choose the way they want to act. It's their freedom, after all. Oh, I forgot to go back with the text before, by the way. Sorry about that. The issue is when a person wants to force a specific outcome, and they will find whatever it takes to make the other person react exactly the way they want to react. In other words, they don't accept that people have the autonomy to choose what they want to do. That's where it becomes manipulation. If you say something and someone gets upset, it's their right to get upset, however ludicrous it is. If you say something in order to make someone get upset, there's a part of manipulation. And if they get upset in order to stop you from saying something, that's also manipulation. People have got the right to say whatever they like, and if we don't like it, we can walk away. And if people end up without many friends, then maybe they need to take a step back and think what they're doing wrong. So just a few thoughts there. And here we go. So that was the number 4, number 3. Let's see, number 5. And if you'd like me to put in any prompts, by the way, just do let me know. Oh yeah, sign number 5. This is great. So this is interesting. This is different to before. Lack of accountability. Narcissists rarely take responsibility for their actions and may blame others for their problems. They may, absolutely. They may also make excuses or minimize their behavior to avoid consequences. Yeah, this is the way. It's similar to what we saw before. They do something anything that works out well is thanks to their genius, and anything that doesn't work out perfectly, they must shift the blame onto someone else. Why? Because in their mind, in their model, it's not imaginable to have. Sorry, there we go. It's not imaginable to take responsibility. Take responsibility means they didn't do things perfectly, therefore they can improve. One of the key points with them is, if they can improve, it means they're not perfect. If they're not perfect, it means they're imperfect and they're flawed. Because they believe they are perfect, it's not possible that they're imperfect. Because they're perfect, they can't get anything wrong. So if there's something wrong, it must be somebody else's fault, because the alternative would be that they're imperfect, which is unthinkable. Therefore, it must be someone else. One of the explanations for this is that they have this, to sort of who they are. They create a fake mask that they present to the outside world, but then they also have a fake mask that they present to the mirror. So one of the questions we often get is, are they aware of what's going on? What I've observed is most of the time they're completely in denial. So if you see something in the mirror and you refuse to accept it, you refuse to accept your image, well, you're going to be in denial about what you see. The mirror has a problem. It's not entirely true. That's not the way things are. And there's probably some element of sort of gaslighting themselves. The way I like to view it, so one good experiment is with cognitive dissonance. So if we go, this sounds completely crazy, put yourself in a situation of cognitive dissonance. And it's not something I do because it's very unpleasant for people. And then usually when you put someone in a situation of cognitive dissonance, they hallucinate, they know what you're thinking, they start attacking you. Generally with politics, it's a good way to do it, where probably, like most people, you can think of some politicians or political movements or political sides that you massively disagree with. If you have any thoughts of these people are bad people, that's a sign that you have a low resolution way of seeing things, which is very common, simply because there's no category of bad people, good people. We have misguided people, we have ignorant people, we have sad people, hurt people, wounded people, and so on and so forth. Most people try to do the right thing, even if they're completely misguided. So one thing with politics is try to put yourself in their shoes and go, how could I see things with a bit of empathy for them, even though I massively disagree with them? And you sort of get a sense, just doing this, there'll probably be some kind of struggle, which might be akin to the cognitive dissonance of going, oh dear, I actually have something in common with this person. Like we both like hiking. Or we both think that it's a good idea if people live a happy life. So if we sort of dehumanize others, but then rehumanize them a little bit, it can be really strange at first. So yeah, that's a thought with the cognitive dissonance, and yeah, I think that's a big explanation of the way they behave, and also why they can't take responsibility, because if the true them is the image they're projecting, then the negatives never happened. So they have to deny one of the two. It's either the image, the person who they believe they are, or it's the actions. The two can't live together. And if you're stuck with that, it's easier to deny the actions than deny the self-image, just because of a preservation instinct. Our self-image is roughly akin to our physical body. If our physical body is harmed, then obviously it's not great. If our self-image is harmed, it can feel just like the physical body, which is one of the reasons why, like with politics, with ideas, we defend ideas so much. The ideas sort of go inside the body, and if people attack the ideas, we go, well, if I lose the idea, I don't know who I am, therefore I must attack you to protect myself. It's a rather interesting phenomenon. Yeah, absolutely. Delusional. Do you have any prompts you'd like me to try with this? Oh, I got an idea of a prompt. So here you go. If you recognize any of the signs of someone you know, it's possible you're dealing with a narcissist. Like always, remember with this that it's not so much, it's not so much that I think it's a good idea viewing them as being a narcissist or not a narcissist, but simply if you see these traits in people and you see a lot of the traits, possibly it's not going to be very comfortable. So let me see if I can. There we go. Let's try new chat. Here we go. And let's see. Let's try something else here. What are 5 common, how do you call it, misunderstandings? False, let's try this, false beliefs about narcissism. Let's see what's happening. Oopsie, here we go. There we go, that was at the top. Okay, oh, this is pretty interesting. Number 1, narcissists always have high self-esteem. While narcissists may display grandiose behaviors and excessive self-love, this does not necessarily mean that they have high self-esteem. In fact, many narcissists have fragile self-esteem and use their grandiose behaviors to cover up their insecurities. Yeah, this is interesting. It's a good point here. It's a good point, including in the sense that a lot of the self-esteem they have is fake. So if you dig a little bit under the surface, that's when we lose them. It's sort of the point before with the mask is, if you dig behind the mask and there's nothing behind the mask, then of course you don't know who the person is. So it's pretty similar to this. They act out. It's like LARPing. They act out this kind of person, high self-esteem, very confident, very capable, doesn't follow up in reality, and they sort of sense it. Like if you have really high self-esteem, you don't need to pretend to be someone. If you're pretending to be someone all the time, then it tells us everything we need to know, really. Number 2, narcissists are easy to spot. Narcissists often portrayed in the media as being arrogant and attention-seeking, but in reality they can be very charming and persuasive. They may use their charisma and charm to manipulate and control others without being obvious about it. Yeah, that's a good point. The way they're portrayed, so it's interesting because this highlights blind spots. The way they're portrayed in media is usually simplistic. One of the reasons why, of course, is that the people portraying it in media don't understand, or if it's in fiction, not all fiction is well written, not all writers are smart, not everyone has got good ideas. In media, when they talk about it, yeah, it's often simplified, and reality is a bit darker. You know, if you observe some of the celebrity cases that we saw recently, the infamous court case last year, a lot of people, it's interesting because you saw people switch from one side to the other. A lot of people started out thinking Amber Heard must be poor victim and everything's terrible. And the more they watched her, the more they went, wait, that's not adding up. Like all of these weird things. It's one of the reasons why it's not funny. These topics are not funny at all. It's dark. It's really dark. When you spend time around these people and you have the keys, it's really dark when you think back to the interactions, to who the person really was. You thought you had a person in front of you, but it's dark. You don't really know who was there, if anyone was there. Yeah, very dark. And okay, use charisma and charm to manipulate and control others. Yes, and very often blind spots. Very often blind spots. They're people who are absolutely adored publicly, and if you just look at their behavior, there's so many alarm bells of how they manipulate others, play with others, use personal gain. You get a lot of people in media who are like that. It's pretty frightening. Anyway, let's move on. Number 3, narcissism is just a personality quirk. Narcissism is often trivialized as simply being a personality trait, but in reality it can be a serious personality disorder that affects a person's ability to form healthy relationships and function in society. Yes, this is absolutely true. And one of the issues we have here is the use of the word, is the use of the word narcissism. When we talk about this, not everyone agrees with what the word means. There's the original image, which is the one of somebody who just likes himself a little bit too much. And this is, of course, obviously, as we know, completely different to the person who has a personality disorder. One of the parts of JWLW, that would be interesting. Very interesting to see the answer. So one of the points about it being a disorder is that it does affect the ability to form healthy relationships. If the premise of the relationship with them is based on a lie, and them pretending to be someone they're not, and them not telling the truth, and them not being willing to have feedback, not willing to engage, positioning themselves above someone else, treating other people with contempt, it's impossible to have a healthy relationship because all of those premises are the opposite of what you need in a healthy relationship. In a healthy relationship, it's a relationship of equals who are different, with different capabilities, yes, but one is not better than the other because both people are different, obviously. In a healthy relationship, both people push each other to be better, and they use criticism as feedback, not because it's mean, but because no one is perfect, and with criticism we can actually get better. They make it just constructive, so it's easier to receive. But in a healthy relationship, both people help each other grow, and they welcome the criticism. So if one person refuses to take criticism, you can't have a healthy relationship. And if the person hallucinates fake criticism in order to hurt the other person, you cannot have a healthy relationship. You can't have a healthy relationship with someone who wants to hurt you. It's not healthy, not by definition. So that's pretty interesting. Let's see, number 4. Narcissists are always successful. While narcissists may have a strong desire for success and power, this does not mean they always achieve it. In fact, their grandiose behavior and lack of empathy can often lead to their downfall and failure. This is absolutely true. There was an author, historian, who wrote 2 books about Hitler. The first one was called Hubris, when you think that you're all powerful, and that was the first half of the Second World War and the first half of his power. And the second one was called Nemesis, so the destruction that comes after hubris. Reality always catches up. Always. So it can catch up late, but it always catches up. And some people get away with it. You know, it's the thing of saying, like, it's easy to focus on the hyper successful people. That's exactly akin to saying, you know, look, if we take the Fortune 500 CEOs or the S&P 500 CEOs or the FTSE 100 CEOs, like the majority of them are men. So that would say something about gender inequality. We can take a step back and go, a number of them are psychopaths. And we need that kind of mindset to have that kind of job that basically requires sacrificing so many things. So if we just say, you know, most of them are, or a number of them are psychopaths, that means all psychopaths and narcissists are CEOs of S&P 500 companies. It's absurd. Obviously they're not. These are the successful ones that we see. If we want to look at it through a gender lens, sure, those are the guys who do that. But the vast majority, 99.99 whatever %, will never be CEOs and don't want to be CEOs because it's very peculiar. So this is one of the problems with statistics and samples. Most people don't know how to do this. And therefore they conflate the anecdote with the story, with the stats. So we can focus on the successful ones. That's true. We can also Hey, you know, I do a drawing for this. I think it might be helpful. So, here we go. You've got this one would be here, success. And this would be the percentage. The vast majority of people are stuck somewhere not particularly successful. You've got a tiny minority who are hyper successful. That's a tiny, tiny percentage. And then you've got the same equivalent over here. And the fall from one to the other can be extremely fast. The other way around, not so much. That doesn't really happen. So I mentioned in the live stream yesterday this so-called architect who believed he was on the higher side, but he's basically been sliding down here constantly over years. Can't keep a job, can't keep a relationship. Nobody likes him. He fights with clients. He doesn't do a good job. And now the last thing I heard was he went from driving a sports car, living in a very expensive flat house, living up life. He went from that to living in a hotel, getting kicked out of the hotel because he can't pay his rent, having nowhere to go, having no job, and also refusing to work. I mean, he'd say he can't find a job, but he can always work at Starbucks and McDonald's. There's nothing wrong with that. Instead of trying to sleep on his friends' sofas, he could just go to a youth hostel. There's nothing wrong with a good, clean bed in a youth hostel. There's always a way to do something. He doesn't want to. So this is one of the things about focus. We can only focus on one side at a time. We can focus on the top side. We can focus on the bottom side. It's a good idea where we focus to understand there's somewhere else we can focus also. And if we only focus on one side, we're missing the big picture. It's a good idea to focus everywhere and then look at statistics. And okay. And then here we go. The last one. I think the last one's going to be pretty interesting. I'll see if I agree with this. Number 5, narcissists can't change. While it can be difficult for a narcissist to change their behavior and mindset, it is not impossible. With therapy and a willingness to change, a narcissist can learn to develop empathy and form healthy relationships. However, change is often difficult for narcissists because they may not see a need for it or may feel threatened by the idea of changing their behavior. This is actually pretty good. Let's see if I can... No, okay. It's actually pretty good. It's pretty good in the sense they say it's possible to learn to develop empathy and form healthy relationships. Yeah, possible. Change is often difficult with narcissists because they may not see a need for it, or they may feel threatened by the idea of changing their behavior. Of course, if you're perfect, why would you change your behavior? If you change your behavior means you're not perfect. Therefore, you shouldn't change the behavior. You get the idea. So, this is where statistics are incredibly helpful. We have a 0% probability. We have a 100% probability and everything in between. The point they are making is that the probability of a narcissist changing is not 0. Now, I would suggest that if it's not exactly 0, the probability is somewhere here. The probability is probably somewhere above 0 and probably somewhere below 1 to 5%. This means if you take 100 narcissists, quote unquote, maybe 1 to 5 of them would be able to make some change, and then you'd have to think how much change. You would think you have the toxic zone, you've got the sort of meh zone, and then you've got the okay zone. So if they're somewhere along the toxic zone, yes, they can probably move up 1 or 2 notches. Can they move up enough to get into the meh zone? Maybe. But the higher you go, the lower the probability is. The higher you want to go, the lower the probability. So yes, it is possible for them to change. It's not impossible. It's not exactly a 0.0% probability. It's not impossible. It's just highly unlikely. That's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting here, because it's a good point, and I think you see the limitations. So far, I must say I'm rather impressed. It seems pretty accurate. I haven't noticed anything that I really disagree with. I just think a little bit inaccurate, but overall, I don't know, seems rather helpful. Why don't you let me know what you think? I think I'm going to end this live stream now. Let me know what you think. Let me know if any of these are things that you agree with or disagree with. And let me know what you think about AI, if you've tried it. And also, oh yeah, do you think this is more or less helpful than other videos that you find? What's the difference? Will you think of using it? And what do you think about what I said? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining. I see there's the long conversation, so that's really cool. I don't want to be interrupting, but I do have to get some sleep. And oh yeah, I see there's the question: are all narcissists evil geniuses? Nope. No, not all evil geniuses. A lot of it is autopilot, and a lot of it is autopilot. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that, JLW. Yeah, so these were the 5 common false beliefs about narcissism. They were pretty good. And then there were, I asked for a script about doing a YouTube video about narcissism. I always wonder, by the way, how people come up with so much content. It seems like there's so much being recycled. I find it quite difficult to come up with an original angle, which is why I haven't been doing that many videos. Been busy, but also looking for something a bit fresh. Anyway, thank you so much for watching.